Welcome. Thank you for joining us for today's presentation. We understand that even under the best circumstances, families face challenges providing day-to-day care for a person living with Alzheimer's. Alzheimer's Los Angeles provides information and emotional support. Please call our toll-free helpline at 844-HELP-ALZ, 844-435-7259, or by going online to our website at alzheimersla.org. If you are noticing changes in someone you care about or even yourself, don't hesitate to call the Alzheimer's Los Angeles helpline Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. with any questions you might have. Calls received after hours will go to voicemail and a staff member will call back the following business day. Today, we're going to talk about Alzheimer's and dementia and the challenges you may be experiencing communicating with the person you're caring for. What we're going to cover is how Alzheimer's and dementia impact communication, why you need to change how you communicate to improve things for both you and your person, and we'll give you ideas and tips to maximize communication to make more meaningful connections. Let's start with what changes dementia may cause for the person with the disease and how you might see those changes in daily life. With Alzheimer's disease, these changes come on gradually and at different stages as the disease progresses. The word dementia is an umbrella term for several diseases, including Alzheimer's, that impact a person's memory and ability to manage their daily lives. One of the most common symptoms a person with Alzheimer's or another dementia may experience is changes in memory. A person with dementia may not, for example, be able to keep in mind that getting dressed and then getting in a car can lead to having dinner with friends. These actions each exist on their own. And with Alzheimer's or another dementia, none of these activities or tasks are related. Another area people may experience challenges in is executive function. For some people, the first sign of a problem may be with making decisions or managing things they've always handled before. This can include everything from organizing their home to balancing their checkbook. Some people with dementia may find it difficult to follow a recipe or remember the steps it takes to do the laundry. It's important for those around the person with dementia to be aware of this, as the person may become more vulnerable, mismanaging their finances, or even be at risk of financial abuse. For some people, changes occur to their visual spatial perception. When this happens, a person's brain doesn't understand the signals about things like where they are or what time of day it is. People who experience this are at risk for getting lost, even in areas they're very familiar with. Wandering can be a safety risk, so it's important to watch for this symptom. Now, let's talk briefly about behavior. It's not uncommon for people with Alzheimer's or another dementia to experience changes to their behavior. They can become agitated or confused. It's important to recognize that these changes are caused by changes to their brain caused by the disease. They are not doing it on purpose or just to aggravate you. They aren't in control of their behavior, so be patient and understanding. Arguing will only lead to more confusion for them. Now, let's talk about the main topic of this lesson, language and communication. The ability to communicate is what allows us to connect with others in the world. We rely on communication to express our needs and feelings. We use our ability to speak and hear others speak to get and give information of all sorts. Language is the most obvious form of communication, but there are other ways that we communicate too. We often rely on gestures, body language, and facial expressions to communicate. A person with Alzheimer's or another dementia may gradually lose their ability to communicate. The first problem many people with Alzheimer's experience is word finding. Some people may struggle to find the right words for a given situation. They may have difficulty in finding the right word in a conversation or feel like a word is on the tip of their tongue. Some may eventually forget names, even of people they have known a long time. Eventually, as the dementia progresses and causes more damage to the language center of the brain, a person may have difficulty expressing ideas and concepts. Some people have trouble processing language. This means that they may hear a person speaking or they may read the newspaper, but the words no longer make sense to them. This can be very confusing for them, and you may find yourself wondering why they aren't listening to you. All of this can make a person feel embarrassed and frustrated. It may cause some people to withdraw and not want to engage with others. It may also lead to emotional outbursts when a person isn't understanding something, feels they aren't being understood, or is struggling to make themselves clear. They may even blame the person caring for them for the breakdown in communication. These are all difficult challenges and can be very painful for both the person with dementia and the person caring for them. We're going to talk just a little bit about the possible causes of dementia. Most dementia is not reversible, but a small number of people may have dementia that could be reversible. This is why it is so important to see a doctor right away if you or a person you care about is experiencing new challenges with communicating. First, let's discuss the more common causes that someone might be showing signs of dementia. As we said earlier, most causes of dementia are not reversible. However, keep in mind that there are some conditions that can be treated, and for people who may have those conditions, it is possible that most of their dementia symptoms could improve with appropriate diagnosis and treatment. Let's back up just a bit. What is Alzheimer's disease really? Alzheimer's is a progressive brain disease that causes symptoms which get worse over time. As time passes, the brain of a person with Alzheimer's becomes more damaged by the disease. The damage can't be fixed, and as more damage occurs, the more serious the symptoms become. Depending on the parts of the brain affected by the disease, we often see changes in a person's thinking, learning, and memory. Because our brain controls every part of us, we can also see changes in their personality or behavior. People who were always calm and polite before may become agitated and angry. Unfortunately, the damage from Alzheimer's will ultimately lead to the person's death. There is no cure for Alzheimer's, and at the present time, there are limited treatment options. Until very recently, the only treatments were for symptoms, not the underlying disease itself. There are some experts who say that Alzheimer's is a disease of emotions. And by understanding, working with, and to some extent managing a person's emotions, it is possible to encourage behavior that is acceptable. The goal of doing this is to minimize behavioral symptoms that are challenging. Understanding what causes challenging behaviors will help you remember that they are caused by the disease and the person you're caring for isn't trying to be difficult. Here are some key things to keep in mind. Confusion. As we previously discussed, the brain of a person with dementia is changed by the disease. This makes it hard for the person to process information they receive. The result of this is confusion. Confusion, discomfort. Being confused makes anyone uncomfortable. It can be unsettling not to understand what's going on around you or not to follow a conversation. Imagine feeling as though the universe is swirling around you all the time. This type of confusion often produces an emotional response. As you're caring for a person with dementia, try to understand if the discomfort they may be feeling is physical, emotional, or mental. Breaking it down to those basic elements will help you understand what they may be experiencing. Confusion, discomfort, challenging behavior. People who are confused or uncomfortable in some way generally react to their confusion or discomfort. How do they react? They do something. When you or I are overwhelmed, we are able to take steps to get organized or move to a place with fewer people so we can become less overwhelmed. But someone with Alzheimer's or another dementia may not understand the cause of the discomfort and therefore can't take action to make themselves more comfortable or feel less overwhelmed. It's up to the person caring for them to help them deal with these situations in daily life. Just like every person is different, every person with dementia may have very different ways of responding to confusion and discomfort. Consider these behaviors as the only way they can communicate what they are feeling. This is often confusing for the person providing the care, and your confusion can be frustrating for the person with Alzheimer's. There's more to communication than words. Here's a question you might ask yourself. Other than verbal communication, what are other ways that people communicate? Did you say body language? What about touch or eye contact? If so, great. Those are all nonverbal ways of communicating. So are your posture, hands and arm gestures, or your tone and voice pitch. For most people, in fact, body language is 55% of communication between people when it takes place face-to-face. Tone of voice is 38% of face-to-face communication, and the content or words used is only 7% of face-to-face communication between people. Many people with Alzheimer's can still understand body language, even if they are struggling with language. You can say so much to another person with just your body language. Communication is a process of sharing information between people. Simply put, communication is the way people interact with each other through words, physical gestures, and speech to get their ideas and thoughts across. As Alzheimer's progresses, a person may begin to rely on other types of communication than just words. Your body language, tone, pitch of your voice become more important in communicating your message than your choice of words. There are additional tips to keep in mind when you are talking and communicating with someone. Number 1, be an active listener and go with the flow. Sometimes emotional need and connection are more important to a person living with Alzheimer's than the actual content of the conversation. Giving someone your full attention is a gift, especially people with Alzheimer's who are often ignored or diminished. Look for the feelings behind the words, the tone of the voice, and other actions that may help provide clues as to what the person you are caring for is trying to communicate. For example, if the person with dementia is trying to tell you something and he or she is very excited and happy but can't find the words, try smiling with them to let them know you're also happy. If the person is angry or sad, be open and acknowledge their feelings, even if you cannot decipher their words. Here's a difficult but so important tip. Try to remain patient, cheerful, and reassuring. Remember, the person you're caring for is not doing this on purpose, and they are not doing this to you. They are probably even more frustrated than you are. Your mood will help create a caring atmosphere that will encourage the person to keep trying. Here are a few other suggestions to keep in mind. Express interest, maintain eye contact and a relaxed expression on your face, and show you are connected and caring. Don't interrupt. Allow enough time for the person to respond and finish sharing their thoughts before you jump in with suggestions. Focus on feelings. Pay attention to the emotion the person is expressing, even if what they're saying doesn't make sense or isn't true. What matters to them is that you care about what they're saying. Be patient. Stay calm, cheerful, and reassuring will help them know you're doing your best to hear them and again, that you care. Go with the flow. Be flexible and understand that your plans may need to be adjusted if the person you're caring for is having a hard day. Number 2, create a connection. Removing the focus from a task you need to complete and instead giving attention to the connection you have with the person you're caring for will help you both get things done. Being attuned to the person's moods and behaviors means you know when you've pushed hard enough to make something happen and it's time to redirect their attention to something else. People with dementia may get frustrated if they feel you aren't taking their feelings or desires into account. While it may be challenging to understand what they want or don't want, your ability to connect emotionally is critical to helping you understand each other. Here are some tips for creating and building that connection. Make eye contact. Maintaining eye contact tells the person you're caring for that you care about what they're trying to tell you. It means you're focused on them and they feel it. Try to approach the person from the front and remember to identify yourself. Address them by their name so they know you're talking to them. Use touch and gestures. A gentle touch can show that you care. When your words need to be a bit firmer to make a point, or when they don't understand what you're saying. A gentle touch or a simple gesture can grab a person's attention. Slight pressure on an elbow can indicate it's time to stand up. Use a calm and reassuring voice. Communication is not only about getting your message across, but facilitating a connection with the person you are caring for. Your tone of voice and your body language are just as important as your words when communicating with a person who has dementia. Speak simply and slowly. It's important to keep in mind that a person living with Alzheimer's or another dementia may have trouble processing information. Give instructions one step at a time to avoid causing confusion and offer gentle reminders if needed. Try to avoid saying, "Remember, I told you," because they may truly not remember and become confused or frustrated by that. Keep your sentences short and use an upbeat tone of voice. Your words and tone together can help you keep the person's attention and help them understand what you are trying to communicate. Number 3, check the environment. As it becomes harder to focus on the task at hand, the distractions pull the person's attention away from you. Organize the environment around the person you are caring for. Be in plain view. Make sure they can see you well. Research suggests that a person with dementia does not see very well to the side, so it's important that you sit or stand directly in front of the person and look at him or her when you speak, preferably at eye level. Avoid glaringly bright or too dark settings. These can be distracting or cause confusion for a person with dementia. Although sunshine is important and can be calming, lighting that is too bright can be uncomfortable for sensitive eyes, while dim or dark lighting can create shadows and be unsafe. Set aside a quiet place. Consider setting aside a certain area of the home just for communicating. Find a quiet, calm place where you can go when you want to get something important across. Reduce distractions. It is so important to avoid distractions when you're trying to communicate with a person who has dementia. It's very possible that communication will be hard, if not impossible, when there's a lot going on around the person. So, turn off the television or radio and try to move away from other conversations, noises, and distractions. Number 4, adjust your approach. Here's a helpful tip. Adjust your approach to how you communicate and interact with the person you are caring for. Think ahead. Think ahead about what you will say. Know what information you want to share and plan it out before you start the conversation. Find a good time and place that's comfortable for a chat. Keep instructions simple. Give clear instructions one step at a time. In the past, it may have been no problem for the person to prepare the most complicated meals. Now, though, trying to remember what comes next could get in the way of helping them do the cooking or whatever activity they enjoy. Instead of saying, chop the onions and saute them with olive oil and garlic, break those things down into bite-sized activities, starting with chop the onion. Ask one question at a time and avoid open-ended questions. Like multi-step instructions, asking a series of questions at one time may confuse a person with dementia and bring a conversation to an abrupt end. Avoid open-ended questions. Using statements is better because they don't require the person to make decisions. Here's a simple example. You might say, "Let's have a cup of coffee," instead of saying, "Do you want a cup of coffee?" The "do you want" question may lead the person to say no when in fact he or she would love coffee but can no longer verbalize the choice. No often seems the safer reply to the question. A person with dementia may perceive questions like a test. Not getting the answer right can make them feel like a failure. Keep it simple and use a statement. "Let's have a cup of coffee" is direct and easier than a question. Use positive facial expressions. Use friendly and open facial expressions, a smile or laughter, and keeping your face free of negative emotion is helpful to your communications. Some people with dementia may be able to interpret facial expressions longer than understanding verbal communication. Share the emotion of your message through your facial expressions. Even if you're feeling impatient, try not to let your face show it. Pay attention to body language and be mindful of your body language. Standing close to a sitting person and leaning over them with your arms crossed can appear scary to someone who may not understand that you're just asking if they'd like a snack. Take a moment to think about the emotion you're sharing with your body and adjust your posture and your arms to show a relaxed, friendly, and caring attitude. Number 5, focus on abilities. Because Alzheimer's is progressive, a person's abilities decline over time. So by regularly assessing the person's abilities, you can help them become and remain involved and content in tasks and activities by matching them to their abilities. Here are a few things to try. Understand the abilities the person still has and match activities to their abilities. Can they help with the laundry or chop vegetables for dinner? Can they complete a 500-piece puzzle? Praise what they are able to do and compliment them when they successfully complete an activity or task. Positive reinforcement is powerful. Encourage the person you're caring for to do as much as possible independently, especially things they enjoy. Respond to their feelings rather than their words. If you can tell they're frustrated and they say, "You're always bossing me around," look for the emotion behind the word and try to understand what's causing it. And this one is key. Establish routines. Routines are predictable, and if you have certain things you do consistently every day at around the same time, this can be helpful and comforting too. Here are a few other communication tips. Always repeat instructions exactly the same way, using the same words and sentence structure. This is a great way to keep communication simple and on point. This one might be hard, but try to accept the blame when something's wrong, even when it's not your fault. "I am sorry that I didn't tell you sooner. I am sorry that you feel that way. I would be upset too." This takes the potential for conflict away sooner. Keeping things relaxed and calm is a top priority. If you really need to, just leave the room. This may be necessary to avoid confrontations or getting pulled into a conflict. When you return to the room a few minutes later, they may have forgotten what they were upset about and you can try again. Don't insist on something they're resistant to. Take a break and then try again later. This can work well too. Agree with whatever they're saying, even if you don't really agree, or distract them by changing the subject or suggesting a different activity. Distract and reframe are great tools to de-escalate a potential conflict or pushback. Slow down both how quickly you are speaking and how fast you are moving. This can be something you may not even realize you're doing, but slowing down can change the tone of a conversation. Often, we are trying to do several things at once, or we are late or overwhelmed. So it may help to stop, take a breath, focus on the person, and ask or answer a question calmly and slowly. There are many ways that we communicate that are less helpful in connecting with a person with Alzheimer's. Reasoning is one of those less helpful examples. You will never win an argument with a person with Alzheimer's, and sometimes it just doesn't matter. If she thinks today is Sunday, let that be fine with you. Does it really matter if she confuses the day? This is what we often call a therapeutic fib. It is a small lie that is not harmful and in fact is helpful. Trying to reason or correct her will frustrate you both. So using a therapeutic fib might be a way to diffuse the situation. Arguing and confronting a person with dementia will get you similar results as reasoning. We are typically the ones who remain upset by the arguing, while the person will soon forget. Let it go and go with the flow. It's easier on you and easier on them. Reminding them that they forgot is not helpful and may make them feel bad. We know that people with dementia forget things. Pointing it out to them can be hurtful. If they share a recent memory that you think they don't have straight, don't correct them, especially around others, which may cause discomfort or embarrassment for them. And you taking things personally is only going to cause you to be upset and or frustrated. Know that the person is not intentionally trying to do anything to you. Let it go. Here are a few other helpful suggestions. Last word connection. This is a technique that can help the person with Alzheimer's feel in control of making decisions for themselves. Try asking the person you're caring for, would you like to wear this green shirt today or the one that's blue? 9 times out of 10, the person will say blue, simply because it was the last word he or she heard. So, if you ask for lunch, would you like a tuna fish sandwich or a turkey sandwich, the response will most likely be turkey. This technique empowers the person with Alzheimer's. They now feel as if they are able to make choices for themselves. Other forms of communication are good to keep in mind too. It's so important to provide praise when the person does something well or independently. Compliments are another way of keeping things positive. Who doesn't like to be told how nice they look or what pretty eyes they have? It's no different for someone with dementia. There are many other ways of communicating that don't involve words. Playing familiar or favorite songs can lift a person's mood. Using gentle massage on their hands or shoulders can relax and calm a person. Encouraging them to eat their favorite foods or even taking a walk together can demonstrate concern and affection more effectively than words. These methods of communicating can also help soothe an agitated person and take the edge off more difficult moments. Even sharing an enjoyable experience together is a way to connect. Here's one you might not expect, but that is fun and really works. Try to laugh more. Humor remains the best way to communicate with anyone, anytime. Laughing at oneself is a true gift. Laughing with someone else is the greatest gift. Pick a favorite television show or movie. Listen to funny audio recordings, books, or podcasts. Read anecdotes out loud or recount a memory that may bring them joy. Often it is the laughter itself that brings pleasure. It's important to practice what I have covered today. It may take time to become a communication expert. Here are a few examples that might help when you need to use your new communication skills. Here's the first, scenario 1. Avoid reasoning. What doctor's appointment? There's nothing wrong with me. Don't say, you've been seeing the doctor every 3 months. It's written on the calendar and I told you yesterday. Do try this instead. It's just a regular checkup. Use a short explanation. I'm sorry if I forgot to tell you. And remember, it's helpful to accept blame. Scenario 2. Avoid reminding them they forgot. Joe hasn't called for a long time. I hope he's okay. Don't say, Joe called yesterday and you talked to him for 15 minutes. Avoid reminding them. Do say, you really liked talking to Joe, didn't you? Let's call him when we get back from our walk. Here you are practicing ways to reassure and distract. Scenario 3. Avoid taking it personally. Who are you? Where's my husband? Don't say, what do you mean, who's your husband? I am. Do try this. He'll be home for dinner. You can go with the flow and reassure, and then distract with, how about some milk and cookies? In summary, remember to be an active listener. Create a connection. Check the environment. Adjust your approach. Focus on abilities. Thank you for taking the time to listen and learn more about Alzheimer's and communication. Here are some of the supportive programs and services that Alzheimer's Los Angeles has for caregivers and people living with dementia. Our helpline is where we provide community resources, emotional support, and advice. We link you to appropriate resources in the community. Our helpline is managed by dementia experts and trained care counselors. They answer all of your questions and get you the support you need. We also have care consultations where we work with families on care planning and how to cope with the diagnosis. We may answer any questions that you may have, and we can also help you to set up a care plan for you and the person you care for. We also have support groups that are virtual and in person. Some support groups are designed for people in the early stages of the disease, while other support groups are especially for family caregivers. We have many support groups where people can connect with other people in similar situations, including for adult children, for spouses, for people who speak a different language or are another culture. If you're interested in joining a support group, call us and we will connect you with an appropriate group. We also have workshops, classes, and programs. Get involved and help raise awareness and combat stigma about Alzheimer's and other dementias. If you're interested in volunteering or fundraising in your community, we would love to talk to you. For more information on anything in this lesson, please call our helpline at 844-435-7259. That's 844-HELP-ALS. Or visit our website to find more resources. You can also connect with us on social media. And that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you so much. We really hope you found this session helpful and you continue to learn more about the challenges you may face and how you can better manage some of those challenges. Coming up in the next few sessions, we continue with more tips and information about memory loss and Alzheimer's, behaviors, and how to make your home safe. There are 4 sessions in this series. We encourage you to watch the entire series and get a comprehensive understanding of the disease and become the best possible caregiver for a person with Alzheimer's or another dementia. We are happy to be here for you and to give you all the information and support that you need to be more confident and more empowered as you care for someone with the disease.